and press up and back for downward dog. In your downward dog, you can come up onto your toes and pop forward and inhale up to a flat back. Exhale, folding forward, coming up slowly, one vertebrae at a time. Now there's only one other variation that I want to show with the same sun salutation, and again it's a little bit more of an advanced one, so if you like the earlier modifications, please do the gentle one if that's the one that works for you. Inhale and bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, up to a flat back. Exhale, popping back to plank and lowering down through chaturanga. Turn your feet over and press up for upward dog, keeping your thighs off the mat, sinking your hips down toward the mat. Turn your toes under, press up and back for downward dog. And come up onto your toes and pop forward and inhale up to a flat back. Exhale, folding forward. Coming up slowly, one vertebrae at a time. When we're ready to finish, hands up overhead, bring the palms together and sink them down to your heart center. So you can see that can be a nice gentle variation, or you can make it a little bit more challenging along the way. So that's a little breakdown on your sun salutation. I also wanted to break down side plank. Side plank is another great pose for developing your strength and your balance, and there are many modifications for your levels. So I would like to show a couple of them to you. So in order to explore our side plank, you'll want to start by lying down on your side. And for our first version, we're going to place our elbow directly below our shoulder. And my feet are stacked one on top of another. That's one variation. As you inhale, you bring your hip up off the floor and one hand up into the air. Lowering your hip down. I'm going to show you another variation. So if that's a little challenging still and you want to take it a little bit more gentle, take your top leg and move it forward so your feet are stacked one in front of the other. And then as you inhale, bring the hip up off the floor, hand up into the air, and lower it down. We always want to keep our body balanced in yoga, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. Starting with our elbow underneath our shoulder. If you want the more challenging version, you would keep your feet stacked one on top of another. And inhale, bringing your hip up off the floor, hand up into the air. And lowering down. If you'd like it to be a little less challenging, a reminder that you can place your top leg, foot in front, elbow underneath the shoulder, and inhale, bringing the hip up off the floor, and your arm up into the air. Lowering your hip down. And that is two of the versions of your side plank. There is a more challenging version that you can try. I will talk you through it. For those of you looking for more of a challenge, you want to place your wrist directly below your shoulder. And again, the legs can be the same, either stacked one on top of another, or the top one goes in front. You want to make sure that you have a nice straight alignment on your body. And as you inhale, you bring the hip up off the ground and the arm up into the air. Your gaze can be straight ahead, or if you want to challenge your balance even further, you can take your gaze up towards your hand. And lowering your your hip down. We'll swing to the other side, making sure that we plant our hand underneath our shoulder, stacking our legs, having a nice straight body to begin. Taking a breath in, bring your hip up off the ground, your arm up into the air. Gaze can be forward or up toward your palm. Lowering your hip down. Those are your side planks. You can work those in to develop your core, your strength, your balance. I did want to do one more little tricky move today. It's definitely a little bit more of an advanced move, and it's called crow. It's an arm balance, and there are definitely places that anyone can work through in crow, and I'll sort of recommend where you should stop if this is brand new to you. But for those of you who have a regular practice and would like to explore crow further, I can take you a little further into it. So as I mentioned, it's an arm balance. So one of the things I want to share with you about arm balances is you're balancing the weight of your body on your arms, therefore your hands act as your feet would. So when we're about to enter into an arm balance, we need to remember that our hands need to be very firm on our mat. I've mentioned the tip before about grounding your index knuckle into the mat to relieve weight off your wrists. The other thing that's really important is to grip your fingers into the mat. When your fingers are tight, they shouldn't be able to be picked up and on the mat. When they're nice and firm, even pull on your fingers and see if you can lift them up. They should be so firm that they can't be lifted. That's the way you want to have your hands. You also probably will feel a little bit of a suction cup. There's a bit of space in your palm that exists when you get that grip just right. So that's one important thing that you need to know about arm balancing. The other is your gaze is very important. As I watch people trying to practice crow, if you look down, you will fall down. And I'll maybe guide you a little further before I give you the rest of the tips. So everyone can start off with this much of our crow work. You can start with your feet slightly more than hip width apart. Your heels are turned in slightly. And then sinking down into your yogi squat. Wherever your yogi squat ends, that's fine. You want to bring your tailbone nice and straight down, stopping where you need to. Bringing your hands to your heart center, like we do. This is called Anjali Mudra. Taking your elbows to the inside of your knees. I like to press them nice and firm to feel the weight of my body resting on my elbows. From there, you take your hands out to about shoulder width apart, and then lean forward and place those hands on the mat, and then get that grip nice and solid. This is where, if you've never done crow before, I would recommend stopping. This is just a great place to feel that yogi squat, feel the weight of your body on your arms, and it's a good place to stop. If you would like to try a little further, you can go so far as to lean your torso forward and feel the weight of your body on the elbows, and possibly lift up one toe. I'll do it on either side just to see if you feel like you have any balance. Now, I mentioned if you look down, you will fall down. This is what I see often. People look down and they fall. And that will definitely happen. You probably won't hurt yourself, especially if you listen to this other tip, which is you will probably never be able to pop up into crow. Crow is not one of those, if I just get there fast enough, I will stay in it. It's about finding that place where you just tip your balance and then everything stays. So popping up into it won't work, and looking down won't work. So if you're trying this, or if this is part of your regular practice, you can come into your yogi squat, hands at heart center, elbows connected with the legs, bring your arms out to shoulder width apart, come forward, grip into the mat, look up and forward as you press your body forward, and then slowly lift one toe at a time to see if you've got your balance. If you feel like you have your balance, you can stay there, holding it and breathing. If this is a regular part of your practice and you want to take a little further, the other thing that you can focus on once you've mastered balancing in your crow is bringing your toes together and then bringing them up toward your bottom. When you're finished, come back down into your yogi squat, put your knees together, Big toes together, sink your hips back towards your heels. Bring your torso down over your thighs. Wrap your arms around yourself in child's pose. Pressing up out of your child's pose, coming up slowly. It's always a good idea to test coming up onto your toes and sinking your hips back toward your heels. For some people, this can be very excruciating, a stretch on the bottom of their foot. They might have a lot of tension or tightness in the bottoms of their feet. Give it a try. If that is painful for you, you can always lift your hips up and relieve some of that pressure. If it's not, you can settle the hips back down, stretch the bottom of the feet out. From here, we're going to relax into a quick meditation. So you can come into a seated position with your legs crossed, or you can align your ankles, bringing the knees out to the sides. I wanted to share with you today my very favorite mudra, Gayana mudra, where you bring your index finger and your thumb together and press them together with your palms open, rest them on your knees. Now, mudra in Sanskrit is a hand position, and this is a very common one that people have seen, but they don't know what it means. So the meaning that was shared with me that I find very helpful in my meditation is: your thumb represents universal knowledge. Your index finger represents you as an individual. So you are bringing yourself together with universal knowledge. Your palms are open and receiving, and your fingers that are open and splayed away are the things that you are letting go of. Your middle finger represents anger. Your ring finger represents attachment. And your pinky represents fear. So coming into your meditation, you can remember, I am connected to the universal knowledge. I am open and receiving. I am letting go of anger, attachment, and fear. Bringing your hands to heart center to close. Thank you so much for joining me today on Namaste Thunder Bay. Have a great day. Namaste.